Let's talk to columnist Sarah Ditum, who writes for The Times, The New Statesman and Unheard, and Reed Amber, who is a podcaster and sex worker. Welcome, both of you. Sarah Ditum, first of all, what strikes you most about what Lily Phillips had to say?
Well, first of all, it's really interesting and good to hear from her herself. I think a lot of people have had things to say about her and on her behalf. It is fascinating to hear what she has to say for herself and about herself. Obviously, the fact that she first saw porn when she was 11, I think, is going to strike a lot of people as shocking. Perhaps it shouldn't do. An NSPCC survey says that the average age at which children first see pornography is actually 13, and that's an average. So for a lot it's younger, and it will be younger than 11 as well. And I think the other thing is how distanced she is from her own emotional reactions. Anyone who's seen the Josh Peters documentary on YouTube or saw the clip will know that she actually had a really strong distress reaction to what she went through while having sex with 100 men. And it's interesting to me that she's, for obvious career reasons, professional reasons, she has tidied that reaction away and separated herself from it.
Although, as we heard her say, she doesn't want people's sympathy. Reed Amber, what struck you?
I love the fact that she was saying that lots and lots of women across the globe also enjoy sex. I think that we have a really negative spin on the way that we see sex. There's a lot of stigma around not just sex, but people who enjoy sex, and also people who enjoy sex for money. I also really wanted to pick up on the fact that she openly cried in this documentary, and she wasn't really sure how to explain herself. I mean, many of us have cried during and after sex. It's a very normal part of being human. And of course, that situation is really intense. So it's a reaction that's bound to happen.
I think there's a really important difference between talking about female sexuality and talking about commercialised sexuality. They are very, very different things. And I think it is a mistake to parcel them together as the same thing, because when Lily talks about sexuality, she's talking about a version of sexuality that is, she's a salesperson. And it was a fascinating interview. I think she can be very vulnerable and revealing, but she is also an incredible self-promoter. And whenever she is putting comments about sex, about her own relationship to sex in the public sphere, fundamentally, it's all serving the drive for subscriptions. And I think we should be really wary of taking that as testimony about female pleasure. I mean, I agree, sex can be very emotional, it can be very intense. It is not abnormal to, cry or have strong reactions during sex. What is abnormal, I think, is to have a very strong reaction to a very extreme situation and then come away from that and present it as if nothing really happened.
Why can't you have both? Why can't you have both the overreaction and the emotional side of things, but also love what you do, enjoy what you do, come away from that situation feeling fulfilled? I know plenty sex workers, and myself included, that absolutely adore what I do and my job. And just like any job, you can have bad days and you can have good days.
I fully, I'm not here to tell you that you don't like your job, and I'm certainly not here to tell you that you don't like sex. That is very much your purview. I do think that there is a contrast that we should pay attention to between the reaction we saw her have on the day and the reaction that she has retrospectively narrativized it out. I do think that matters. And I do think we should talk about the fact that when sex is commercialised, it is not good for everybody. Not everybody goes into selling sex as a free choice, a happy choice. Not everyone is able to achieve that separation that makes it psychologically sustainable. And certainly I think a lot of people are exposed, as Lily was, to this version of sexuality that is commercial, that is not based on intimacy, that is performance and trade, and understand that to be what sex and relationships are. And that is actually quite a poisonous influence for a lot of people.
Can I ask you, Reed Amber, I mean, Lily Phillips said she's doing exactly what she wants. She's earning a living in the way she wants. And I asked her if actually what she saw as economic freedom might see her become trapped by having to do more and more extreme things in order to drive the subscribers, the followers, and so on and so forth. Do you buy that?
Yes, I do feel like we are looking at Lily and almost blaming her for something that society has created, just like what you were saying, where we're putting the onus and the judgment on her when actually it's not really anything to do with Lily. It's to do with how we see sex and how we're educated around sex and pornography.
And access to pornography, as we said right at the beginning.
Access.
Oh yeah, and the way in which sex is commercialised and the way in which large profit-making corporations, like OnlyFans in this case, are actually the ones who make out like bandits off of women's bodies and, you know, often women's distress, or certainly in the case of what Lily went through, distress.
And that I can agree with, but would you not say that most businesses are exploiting our bodies?
No, because most businesses do not take place on the inside of your body. And because sex is, I absolutely accept that there are people for whom it's something they get into freely, can get out of freely, and that they find satisfying and, you know, even liberating to be part of. But the sex economy as a whole doesn't work like that. The sex economy is incredibly exploitative, and there is a trickle-down effect where we focus on the sort of upper echelons, with apologies, but we do not talk about women who are really working at subsistence level, often doing very dangerous stuff, are not in a situation to choose their clients, are doing contact work rather than video work, which is both dangerous in terms of the risks you're exposed to, dangerous because there isn't really a way to filter a quote-unquote safe punter from an unsafe punter. And dangerous because I think you only have to tip, you know, the most delicate of toes into the world of men talking about escorts to find out that a lot of men who pay for sex, a lot of men who pay for sexual services, do so with a huge amount of contempt and hatred for women.
And that brings me to, we're nearly out of time, but when Lily Phillips suggested the potential rise of women creators on websites that we've just been discussing, is that fueling the misogynistic, grotesque conversation online from men about women? What do you think, Reid?
I don't think sex work is fueling misogyny. I think we as a society are fueling misogyny. We've got this huge balance of people that are following things like Andrew Tate, and we are getting a divide when really we need to be asking more sex workers how we can keep people safe, because you're not wrong, there is a huge level of trickle-down effect, but that's only because the way that we as a country have set up our laws, we're not protecting sex workers.
But nothing Lily's done is illegal.
No, she hasn't done anything illegal. Nothing that she's done has been shameful or wrong in any way, shape or form, but lots of people will point the finger at her and tell her that she's, you know, this, that and the other. And
well, you know, OnlyFans is legal.
I'm so sorry, I'm going to pause you there, but because we are out of time. But thank you so much, Reid Amber and Sarah Ditum. Thank you for coming on the programme.